people will waste time procrastinating, searching for like the perfect thing that they think is just going to give them the results overnight. It just doesn't exist.
They're thinking they're going to go to the gym that day or monitor their nutrition that day and be another step closer to that, and they can't see it. And then they just get demotivated and just drop off.
What I'll often say is that what you think the longest path is often the shortest one.
Being able to look at like your training and nutrition is like, this is just what I do. You can do anything at that point.
Yeah.
I'm Ryan Stevens.
Dr. Taylor Waters.
I'm Ben Olliver.
Welcome to the Supra Human show, yeah?
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Supra Human show with your host, Ben Olliver, the Doc, Taylor Waters, and Mr. Ryan Stevens.
He's back.
He's back. He's back in action.
Yeah.
Yes.
Come out of retirement.
Yeah, we twisted his arm, please. All right. So today we're talking about mastering patience. One of the key skills necessary for really just, I mean, I want to say anything.
Yeah.
It's literally anything.
Life advice.
Yeah.
With 3 numbskulls.
Yeah, I think it's such the ability to continuously do a task, habit, or behavior, for the end result, and not deviating from that. Like, that's what patience is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think the biggest, I think, like, I guess mistake is that people think that if you can be impatient but still do the things.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you could say, well, is that being patient? And so, like, when people say I'm really impatient, what that means is I will change my behavior based on this frustrated feeling that I get from not getting the result that I want, and I want it faster.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the mistake is, like, people that are acting patient and continuing to do the thing, they want the result just as fast as you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like they're like, oh no, I just don't care. Like, I'm happy to wait a year. Like, no, they want it this month as well. But they've almost like restrained themselves from deviating from their habits and behaviors because they've got that, like you said, like that delayed, that ability to kind of delay the gratification and stick to it. So
It's like impulse control, isn't it? It's like with anything as well. Like when you just said there, like you should be patient with anything, but like with fitness and nutrition, it's like consistency over time, isn't it? There is a time component. It's like you're not going to get the results tomorrow if you do everything today. And even worse with fitness, you can do everything right, and the outcome that you're looking for, whether that is like visually in the mirror or the scale, you may look worse the next day or the scale go up. And it's like the ability to still do the actions is what is needed to truly get the results you want.
Yeah.
I think the best comparison is like the S&P 500.
Yeah.
Where it's like your goal is to put deposits in that S&P for 30 years, and then eventually it's going to accumulate to something significant, and then you can pull it out and live happily ever after. But there's like a few things. Like, one, if you keep just staring at it, it doesn't go up any faster. But you can frustrate yourself by looking at it being like, oh my God, this is the slowest thing ever. 2, in that 30 years, it's going to have massive highs and massive lows, and it's going to net ideally go up, but in that it's going to fluctuate. And if you react to every time it goes up, where you're like, oh, throw more in, and then every time it goes down, you're like, oh, I'm going to pull it out, again, you sabotage that long-term game plan. And I see that's exactly what people do with their fitness and nutrition, where they'll start putting deposits in, the scale will go up when it should be going down. They're like, oh, this doesn't work, I'm going to try something else. And or they'll follow their plan for 3 days, and they're like, why is it not working yet? Like, and they'll be looking at themselves in the mirror, maybe grabbing their fat, kind of measuring their waist or whatever, being like, why is it? I love that, measuring their waist, because my arms are so as big as my waist. But
no, your waist is way bigger.
But like they'll be like, it's like watching paint dry, and they're just like, is it happened yet? Is it happened yet? And again, like you'll trick yourself into getting frustrated and then like almost getting bored and wanting stimulation and then doing something else. So ultimately, like the impatience leads to changing your behavior.
Yeah. I think that's where, and you see it a lot in fitness, is the impatience is magnified by the unrealistic expectation of how fast things happen as well. And again, you can tie social media to that as well. We were talking about that earlier, where you see a lot of these 6 weeks, 8, like things get marketed in a certain way, which then skews people's perception of how realistic certain things are. And then when they start to do them, the outcome is not living up to the expectation, which leads to then to the frustration, which then leads to the change of behavior, which now sets you further away. And you end up like the common things you're going to see is like program hopping, crash dieting, changing dietary tactics, whether they go carnivore, keto, whatever it is. And they're constantly shifting and moving. And I remember there was a guy from the gym years ago, and he's in good nick. Like he looked great. But every time you speak to him, he's doing something else. He's in a fat loss phase. Now he's cutting down. Oh, sorry, he's in a fat loss phase. Now he's bulking. Then he's thinking about competing. Then he's not. Then he wants to get good at a sport. Then he's not. Then he's jumping on gear. Then he's not. And it's just like, mate, like you're getting nowhere at the moment because you're just constantly shifting this goal. And it's like it's because you want to do something. You're not patient enough to wait it out for it to happen. So you change. And then you're not patient on that one either, and then you change. So it's like you need to really just build that. And this is where, you spoke about the S&P 500.
Yeah.
Where it's like, if you can build fitness into your lifestyle, so you've got the goals that you want, if you can incorporate that into your lifestyle, you don't even have to think or look at it. You just live. And then we speak about that as a byproduct of living. You then go, I'm way fitter, way leaner, way stronger than I used to be. And you weren't meticulously checking things every single day. You were just like, I go to the gym 4 days a week with pretty good effort. My diet is, my dietary behaviors are pretty dialed in. And then over a 10, 15 year period, now you're so much further ahead and you haven't even paid that much attention to it. It's like for you don't meticulously monitor anything.
Ever anything at all.
But what you have done is you did it for a period of time that enabled you to change your behaviors. You sort of mastered those behaviors, and now you just live with them and then as a byproduct of just now waking up and doing your thing, you progress like the way you do.
Yeah. I think realistically, it's like if you had a year doing the same thing, you're going to get incredible results. But like if you look on social media, be like, 90 days, I'll get this result or whatever. And like, if you look at that at face value, people are going to go for like the 90 days originally because they're like, I can get the result in 90 days. And what I'll often say is that what you think is like the longest path is often the shortest one. Because someone will do this for 90 days, realize that it's not going to get the result. Then they'll go into another 90-day program. And if you look at the people who's been trying to get the result doing these programs, it's been like a couple of years. Whereas if you just stuck to the same thing for 1 year, you would have been there and maintained right now.
Remember, when I was at college, this is when I was 17. This was like I was like fully entrenched in training, like bodybuilding training, and this was maybe like broadband was just starting to be decent. Like at that point, we had like MSN and stuff. Like because I remember when you were like 13 or whatever, it would be that dial up.
Yeah,
like you couldn't do anything. Like the internet was useless.
Yeah,
but like 17, it's like you could find good stuff on the internet, and so it's like. You had the forums, like the bodybuilding forums and stuff like that. There wasn't any, YouTube hadn't really there were like no prominent fitness YouTubers like then. It was all like forums and bodybuilding kind of stuff. But I was looking
bodybuilding and pornography.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I went on the forums much.
And but I was kind of like changing my routines like all the time and like just reading different books and like training ADD. And there was a guy that come to the gym and he first started, he was like quite skinny and he was doing 5 sets 5, like Mark Rippetoe, like squat, bench, deadlift. And I was looking at it, I was like, you need to leg press, you need to do leg extension, you need to do all these things. And then I went to university, like a couple years after, like, and he was still be in and out of the gym, like, started his squats to like 40 kilos, next week, 42 and a half, then 45. And I come back, probably when I was like 19, maybe like between 19 and 20. And I saw him in the gym and he looked like he gained about 40 pounds and he put on 4 plates on the bar and was squatting 5 sets of 5. And I was like, mate, like, what have you been doing? He's like, the same thing. And he's like, I've just added 2.5 kilos, like whenever I can. And I've just done the same routine. And I was just like, I had like built a decent level of strength at that point, but I wasn't 5 sets of 5 of 1/8, like 4 plates at that point. And I was like, fuck. And I was thinking, like, if I had just stuck with my routine, like, I could have done that.
Yeah.
And so, but it was such a good example of, like, he just blindly followed a routine and put effort into it for, like, 3 years and got stronger than what most Gen Pop will ever be. And it didn't take that long, like 3 years. Like, that's not crazy. Meanwhile, I was spinning my wheels for, like, a year and a half of that, trying to figure out what I thought was, like, the perfect plan.
That's weird as well. It's like sometimes ignorance is bliss. Like if you don't have much information, you just go to the gym and just train really hard. Whereas like the people who are like reading loads of books, etc., they're constantly jumping around. Oh, this is apparently better than this. Whereas like if you don't know any better and you just go to the gym 5 times a week, train really hard. Like I know loads of people that are not even in fitness whatsoever, and they just like going to the gym, train their ass off, like eat loads of food, and then they've made so much more progress than people who've like been to university and got like degrees and stuff.
Yeah,
on top of it.
They've just done it for 15 years.
Yeah.
Like what works, what's the biggest dictator is just like somewhat hard work done consistently over time. Like you can break the nuances up and you can see like this program is a bit better than this one and this one might support this one better and then like the different diets and things. But it's like the key driver is the one that's just putting in some work for 5, 10, 15 years. So that should be the main focus. That's the one I'm definitely going to do. Whereas if you're like on a program, then you're off a program, then you've got a coach, then you haven't got a coach, then you're going to change and do this goal. It's like then you end up again just spinning, and 10 years later, again, like you're in the same spot.
Yeah.
I was watching one of Jay Cutler's videos from like when he was in his prime.
With the blonde curtains.
Yeah, because they all come out with they had their own training DVDs and then someone's put them on YouTube. But like he said, and like genetics aside, one of the top guys in the world trained very, very hard. But it's like, what was your routine? He's like, well, I know what body part I need to train on a certain day, and I would go to the gym and see what equipment was free, and then I would go on that piece of equipment for a few sets. Then I would go on to the next one. And then when I feel like I had nothing left, I would leave and then I would go and eat. And so it's like, what sets and reps do you do? And he's like, a lot. And it's like, yeah, like if I felt really good and felt strong, I might go a bit heavier. If my shoulder hurt a little bit, I'd go a bit lighter. Like how many sets? Like, sometimes 3, sometimes 8. And it's like, sometimes I feel like I could do a lot and other times I'm a bit tired. It's like, there was no periodization. It was just like Monday's chest, Tuesday's legs. But if I'm busy, then Wednesday's legs. And it's like, there was no... If you like looked at like a 12-month training period for him, there would be no pattern.
Yeah.
And like the only thing is like he's in there for an hour and a half, getting after it, and then eating.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that he was structured on was like his diet.
Yeah.
But like training wise, it was like go and train hard and then recover and then do it again.
Yeah.
And that was literally it.
I seen a similar video that Lee Priest did. I remember just crying. He was on Instagram. He's like, oh, we didn't do macros back then. We just ate this. And he said something. I can't remember what it was, but he was like, oh, this exercise works the long end of the tricep. And he was like, it's a fucking tricep, mate. Just train it like that. I remember just crying.
Yeah. Like there's obviously, they like Lee Priest is probably the most genetically blessed bodybuilder. But there is like, you can definitely take from that. So like, if you train like Lee, will you look like Lee? Never. Like no one ever will. But like,
he's also in his off season.
He's also 5'3". Yeah. So hey, genetically gifted to an extent.
Yeah. But then there's also like, if you find yourself getting caught up in the weeds of like, I don't know whether to do 8 to 10 reps or 6 to 8 or 12 to 15 or 2 sets or 3 sets, or I need to, put my program on a spreadsheet and add all these things. And it's like, there are millions of people. There are guys in Africa that are doing curls with, a rusty barbell and a tire, getting in great shape, living off maize and, and just training hard every day. So I know we've kind of deviated from our talk about patience, but I think it's like going back to that, people will waste time procrastinating, searching for like the perfect thing that they think is just going to give them the results overnight. And it just doesn't exist.
No, like fitness is not won on perfect days. It's not won on perfect weeks. It's literally, if you can just be good all the time, consistently, that's how it's won. Like it isn't one. You see so many people like, they come to you maybe like before with Supra and things, and they're like, oh, I've started this new training program and it's awesome. Like I am crushing it. And then literally like a month later, they're like, oh, mate, I haven't trained for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, that's that same person. Like you're just spinning because you're looking for that, like that golden nugget to start something and it feels amazing and it's just going to carry you. And like I've done what everyone else is doing for 10 years. I did it and it took me 3 weeks and it's done. That's what they're looking for. And then they keep, and then next, 10 years later, they haven't done anything. Again, they just keep spinning their wheels time on time.
Like you said, Ben, you'd rather have someone who's 70 to 80% for the rest of their life than like someone who's 100% for like 10 weeks or whatever.
I had a client who was literally like that, where first like 16 weeks, crushed, dropped like 30 pounds, fell off the wagon, gained a bunch of weight, and then never got back on it. And then tried a different coach, jumped back in with me, and then got him set up, same deal as last time. Here's what we're going to focus on, basics. And then it was like, oh, like, what do you think of band training? And I'm like, pretty useless. Like, if you don't have access to a gym and all you have is bands, better than nothing. Like, and this is for body composition. I'm not talking like for sports and explosiveness and stuff, but like, it was like building a whole routine from using bands. And I was like, well, like the main issue is the strength curve is a bit off. Like, everything's the hardest at the top and then it gets really easy. It kind of catapults you down. You don't get the eccentric, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, well, like I read this thing and, apparently, you can build muscle 3 times faster with bands. And I was like, well, that's not true because no bodybuilder is training with bands alone. If that was the case, then they would be. And he's like, well, can I get a band workout anyway? Yeah, sure. Put together a band training program for him. 2 weeks later, like, hey man, can you set me up with a barbell and a dumbbell program? And I'm like, yeah, like what happened to the band training? He's like, oh yeah, just like didn't really do anything. And I'm like, okay. 2 weeks later, hey, like, so I've been looking at a lot of kettlebell training. And I'm like, well, dumbbells and barbells were invented after the kettlebell because like they're superior and there's more variety and stuff. And he's like, yeah, I just want to try like kettlebell training. And then 2 weeks, nothing. And then all of this while, like I had a call with him and I'm like, Steve, like all the time you've done this, you've drank beer every night. Like even when I've changed the routine, you've only done half of it, like probably half-assed, like, and you've gained 20 pounds. Like you need to just accept the fact that like you are just not doing it. You're trying to chase this like magic pill that doesn't exist. And so it was really frustrating for me because again, it's like I'm trying to accommodate the client with what they want and stuff. And I'm not going to be like, no, we're not doing that. But at the same time, it's like, here's a bit of tough love, bro. Like you're going to spend the next year trying a bodyweight program, a prison program, calisthenic kings, and then band training, then powerlifting training, whatever it is. And
Brett Contreras
hip thrust your way to, oblivion. and then it's like you're
the Ass Master 5000.
Yeah. and then you're going to be in the exact same spot. And it's like, and I would hate to see that. And so you try and save people the time. And again, it's like, it's so contradictory. It's like, I'm trying to save people time by telling them to be patient and give the thing time. But otherwise they end up spending 5 years doing what they could have achieved in 6 months.
Yeah. I tell you what, calisthenics will be a little bit harder, 20 pounds heavier again.
Progressive overload.
Yeah. That was his intention, wasn't it?
Every week gain 2 pounds, then do your pull-ups.
It gets to a point though, when you've explored all avenues, at some point you just have to look in the mirror and be like, look, dude, like what is the problem with sticking with one thing for like an extended period of time? Like when you've changed the training program like 5 times and you're not getting the results, like, look, dude, like we're doing the same thing, like expecting a different outcome. It's like, what is the real problem?
You see a lot of times the people that have that issue of training, like they do it in other areas of their life as well. Yeah. Like they're the guys that get like frustrated in traffic, even though they're in the traffic every day. And it's like, it's the expectation. It's like, and you're still getting annoyed by it. Or like just any little thing that's like, doesn't give them that immediate return. They get frustrated and kind of throw their toys at the pram and get like emotionally reactive over it versus just like, being able to think logically and remove emotion from that decision making and saying like, well, I know if I keep doing this thing, eventually it's going to yield this result. Like, and being able to just not think about it and do something else productive with your time. Like that's like some of the best guys, like you said, like maybe they're not like ignorant, but they're just like, they have other priorities in life that they focus on. And so it's like, I tick the boxes and then I don't give it another thought. And then they're the ones like in 6 months time, you're like, dude, like you're jacked. And he's like, oh, I didn't even see. Like I just been doing what you told me and then I crack on with my day. Yeah. And it's like, they don't overanalyze it or get kind of paralysis by analysis. It's like, I eat my protein. I do what my coach tells me and it works. Like that's it. And then you got like the other guys that they are constantly giving pushback to the coach. And by no means is it bad to ask questions. You know, if you're curious why you're doing something, the coach should be able to explain it to you. But if you're trying to combat it with like, oh, well, you know, I read this thing, or, you know, I feel like I should be doing this, and it's like, why did you come to me? Like, if you feel like that's going to work for you, why are we having this conversation, and why have you not just done that and got the results? Like, it's clear that it didn't work.
So from a fat loss perspective, then, like, let's say we're talking from a fat loss perspective, if you have got someone who is impatient, what do you try and get them to do to solve that problem? I guess because it is really common, and as you said, they do it in other areas of like their life. Is there anything that you're like, well, let's go this route to try and support them to be, you know, to stay on course?
First thing, I just lay out very, very clear, realistic expectations. Because again, you could look at it and say, well, I would do a more aggressive approach to kind of get them the initial wins, which can work, but then also you can be feeding into that impatience, because then it eventually is going to slow down.
Yeah.
And then they're going to be like, they'll be your best friend and then your worst enemy as soon as it stops.
You're not solving the problem. The problem is the expectation. And what you're doing is put a Band-Aid on it and just ramping things up.
So I may be a little bit more aggressive whilst I'm continually having conversations with them about the building the skill of being patient. Because it will get to a point that you'll have to have that like stern talk of like, the reason why you're impatient is because your expectations aren't aligning with reality. It's because your expectations are fabricated off these things which are not realistic. Like whether it's social media or, well, I've got a friend and they did this. Yeah. It's like, cool, you don't live their life or have their genetics. And so it's, you end up having to burst that bubble at some point. And I would rather do it right at the start than try and like feed into it and then reinforce it and then have to do it, because then they'll be like, well, I'm just going to find someone else that's going to lower my calories even more. And they can't kind of play the long game.
They often from like previous experience as well, where like they'll do like a crash diet, you know, some like juice diet, and they'll drop like 10 pounds in a week, and then when you were training them and they like drop like 2 pounds in the first week, they're like, oh well, last time I dropped 10 pounds in the first week. So again, like all these expectations that aren't aligned with reality often come from previous experiences too. So like you're often saying that, like often something I'll say is like, well, yeah, how did that work out for you though? Because like you dropped 10 pounds in a week, but now you're like sat in front of me, and like obviously it worked short term, but it didn't work long term. And obviously when you talk to them in that sort of sense, like, yeah, it worked for a short period of time, but we want to work for a long period of time. So you slowly change their expectations over time, because again, frustration comes from unmet expectations. Okay. So, and if they have unrealistic expectations,
I think a massive part is the expectation, isn't it? It's just false right out the gates, and as long as it's not going to live up to that expectation, they're always going to feel like they're not getting what they want and they're not doing well and they could do more. And again, like we see it, you know, when you do a training program for someone and they're like, oh, I can do more. I'm like, I'm not doubting you can. Like, I'm sure you could do more, but is that going to get you to the goal any faster? No. So what's the point? You're just wasting time and effort. But I think for those people as well, it's quite nice, because again, it can be a long game. Like, you know, a longer game is muscle building. Like, Christ, that's a real long one
really
to go for.
Patience.
Yeah. But then, so let's take from muscle building and then maybe apply it to fat loss. So from a muscle building standpoint, one of the things that I like to encourage guys to do is monitor training performance, because then they can get not the instant, but like the short-term wins. So that keeps them ticking over. Then, like I'm expecting a bit more next week, and then I can maybe get a bit more next week. And then over 6 months, their attention has been entertained by progressions in the gym, which happen much more frequently. And then they look and they're like, oh mate, I'm up like 10 pounds and I'm feeling strong and I'm looking jacked. And it's like, oh, okay, now. So you almost like their attention was changed somewhat, changed angle. And then, so if you apply that to fat loss, some of the things we'll look at is like habit tracking. They can get instant wins daily. Like, I'm ticking off 4 or 5 habits a day. Boom, 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 boom. And I'm winning. I'm getting wins daily. And it's taking their attention off the end goal of being shredded or whatever. And then like 6 weeks later, you show them a photo and they're like, man, I haven't even looked at my photos. Like, I'm looking way leaner. So it's just giving them these other pathways to satisfy that, like those wins. and then it keeps them moving, rather than when people are just focused on that one outcome and that's all they're training for. It's like they're thinking they're going to go to the gym that day or monitor their nutrition that day and be another step closer to that, and they can't see it.
Yeah.
And then they just get demotivated and just drop off.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I'll try and, because muscle building is such a slow process, I almost try and get them motivated just to do, like, by doing the thing. So, like, I'll use, like, objective metrics like performance in the gym, chasing those numbers, because the scale, it's not going to be a really valuable metric short term, after like 3, 4, 5 months, of course, but like looking at weekly weight gain, it's like we don't really want to see a huge jump, and so it's it's not that accurate. But I try and get them to buy into enjoying the process for the sake of the process, rather than like being motivated to do it for an outcome. It's like be motivated to do the thing just to do the thing. So like I don't have to do those things like you mentioned to keep me going to the gym, because I'm just motivated to go to the gym because I like it and it makes me feel good. And so it's trying to get people to that point where it's just what they do and who they are. So it's like, we don't need to dangle the carrot like with these other metrics. And I think you do initially, but then after a certain point, it's like patience isn't even a part of it, because it's like, I'm going to do it anyway. Like, it's just part of like my daily routine or my weekly routine or whatever it is. And it's like, yeah, I'm probably going to net some muscle. If I'm dieting, I'm going to drop some body fat. But either way, I'm still doing these habits and behaviors. And so it's like, I don't have to be patient, because it's like, well, I'm doing it forever anyway. So there's no rush for it. So it kind of gets rid of that impatient.
I'll tell you one thing, like initially when clients aren't motivated to like do the habits and behaviors that are going to get the outcome that they want, like tying a reward to those habits and behaviors. So like, I don't know, if you go to the gym 4 or 5 days this week, I know you like golf, go and buy yourself a new set of golf clubs or whatever it may be, or something they were going to buy anyway. Like they don't buy it until they've hit like these milestones, but not the outcome, the habits and behaviors that lead to the outcome.
Yeah.
Because it positively reinforces those, and then eventually the outcome will come as a byproduct of that.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah.
And obviously with time then as well, like you said, like it'll just be something that you just do. You won't even need to tie the reward to it.
Yeah.
But initially that's a really good way that I found of doing it.
Yeah. You mentioned the enjoyment side of it. If you can get someone to enjoy it, then the instant gratification they're seeking is enjoyment. It's like, oh well, now it's well. If you can get someone to that point, then it's like, oh, they want a rocket ship. Now it's just, this is an easy win, because now they go in because they're choosing to go because they like actually being there themselves. It's like, if you can get that ingrained in someone, you've almost like, I've solved this now. We're sound.
And obviously, like that'll come with time, but obviously with time as well, they'll actually start getting the outcome, which will then fuel their enjoyment. So it's just getting them to that point where they start seeing the results. Oh God, like I love coming here because like my arms are more jacked.
Yeah.
So it's also like an interesting conversation to have with someone like why are you impatient?
Yeah.
Let's go. Oh, like because I like things fast. It's like everyone does. Like, so what? Like, what's the rush? Like, what is the act? Like, let's just say it takes you 50 weeks to lose 50 pounds. Like, so still less than a year. You've never lost 50 pounds before. You've only ever lost 15 and then gained it back. Like, is that really so bad? Like, why is it that you're in such a rush to lose this 50 pounds in 3 months when we could do it in a year? Like legit, what's the difference? And a lot of times they're like, yeah, you're right. And you're like, yeah, like, cause it's you've been gaining this weight for 10 years and we're getting it off in 1/10 of the time, but that's still not fast enough for you. Why? And again, it goes back to unrealistic expectations. Like, oh, because I've just randomly thought of 12 weeks in my head because I always see 12-week programs. And so I just assume that it's going to take that long. It's like, no, like if all you saw was 50-week programs, 50 weeks would be completely reasonable for you.
Yeah.
But it's like you've built it up in your head just from years and years of magazines and social media and whatever saying 8 weeks to shred it, 10 weeks to shred it, 12 weeks to shred it, that now you're like, that should be the norm. I should have this done in 12 weeks. When if all you saw was like 3 years to get in the best shape of your life, like 10 years to achieve this thing, and that's all you ever saw. If someone said, yeah, it's going to take, a year, it's like, oh, I read that it was going to take 10. Yeah. Amazing. Like, this is happening so fast. And so it's like, it's all just your perception of how long it will take.
If anything with fitness, like when you look at the ratios, it is actually quite fast. Like if it took you 20 years to get out of shape, and it's going to take you a year and a half to fix it.
Awesome return.
That's a great return. It's like, oh, I was able to slob out and do nothing for 20 years, and I solved it within a year and a half.
Undo 20 years of shit habits and behaviors and everything in a year and a half. Like, that's incredible. But everyone's like, no, 12 weeks.
Yeah,
Like,
they're like, a year. That's so long. That's 4 times the amount of 12 weeks.
Yeah.
That's like one of the initial conversations I'll have, because often clients will be trying to like get to their goal, and it'll be like 5, 10, 15 years. And it's like, well, if I can get you to that goal in like 2 years, that's a great return on your investment.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's like, and that often changes their expectations and changes their perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's always good if you can nail that right out the gates. It's like, okay, well then they know that they're there and they're willing to do that work then, and it's a much smoother ride if you can set the true expectation right out the gates. Then I think that's a lot of the decrease in motivation that we see, and the drop off in program will be due to the expectations being skewed.
With like muscle building, it's like when people say like, oh, I'd love to pack on 10 pounds of muscle in 12 weeks, and say, well, based on that logic, you're saying that people could gain 40 pounds of muscle in a year. Can you show me anyone that's done that? Like, oh, and natural, by the way, like, because you don't want to take any PEDs. Like, cool, there is no one. So that rate of gain that you're pulling out of your ass is just complete nonsense. Yeah. So it's like when you like, it's like, okay, so based on the fact that you think you can gain 10 pounds of muscle in 12 weeks, I should be able to gain 100 pounds of muscle in just over 2 years. Like, I don't think I can. Like, and so it's like, then when you look at that, like, yeah, that is a bit silly. It's like you're looking at maybe 3 pounds. Like, in 12 weeks, 1. Like, you might get 3 to 7 pounds in a year if it's a really good year.
I haven't gained 1 pound in 5 years.
Yeah.
One of my clients had a DEXA done, and it was like, I think it was like 12 weeks apart. And they're like, oh, muscle mass is only up a small amount. Like, fuck's only been 12 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, Christ, like, if you see any muscle growth over a 12 week
period, huge win.
Decent. Yeah.
It all comes down to like previous experiences or things they've read. Because like I've had clients where like they've dropped 2 pounds in a week, and they're like, oh, this is a rubbish week. And I'm like, what, 2 pounds?
Yeah.
That's epic, Rick the fat loss.
Yeah.
So it's like, again, it's just different perspectives.
Yeah, the same outcome, the expectation's different. Yeah.
Like, I'm going in, run my ass, God, this is epic this week. And he's like, oh, rubbish week.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what made you think that?
Because then you say to them, like, so what would make it a great week? And they're like, oh, like losing 5 pounds. And it's like, okay, let's do the math on that.
Yeah.
Like, we would need to be in a deficit of, like, and then you're like, what?
5 times 3,
17,000 calories. Yeah. So you would need to eat negative 200 calories a day and walk 10 miles every day in order to achieve that. Can you do it?
Yeah.
Like, no.
And you run a multi-million-dollar company, 5 kids. Good luck with that.
And you've told me you can't train for more than an hour a day. Like,
I've actually done that with someone. They were like, oh, I want to lose. I think it was like, I got 6 weeks till this point, and I want to lose 20 pounds. And I was like, okay, well, just to show you what that would look like from a numbers standpoint, this is how much you're currently losing on X amount of calories and X amount of steps. So if we kept steps the same, because we know you're maxing those out at the moment, we're going full in on those, you would have to, and I worked out, and it was like, you'd have to eat 300 calories every day for the next 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Are you willing to do that? And he's like, oh God, no. Like, oh, okay. So let's forget the 20 pounds in the next 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I've had a mind blank. What's that film where that guy just like his diet was like an apple and cigarettes or something?
That was the Joker, wasn't it? That was Joaquin Phoenix preparing for the Joker.
Oh,
It's like, it'll be one of those diets.
Cigs and apples, There we are. Let's get a pack of Marlboro Lights and a bag of Granny Smiths, and I'll see you in 6 weeks.
I think Matthew McConaughey for like Dallas Buyers Club, he like stayed indoors, so his skin went like pasty and just frail.
That's what I do.
Because in Dallas Buyers Club, it's basically he's got AIDS, and then he's like, he just withers away to like just bone. But he would literally, his diet was like a can of Diet Coke, some white fish, and like a glass of red wine in the evening. And he did that for like months. And I'm just like, oh, like, I mean, pay me that much and I'll do it. But
Jeez.
And then
Yeah.
having to act.
yeah,
Whilst also
can
feeling
you
like that.
imagine?
You
Yeah.
go in and they're like, oh no, cut, the lighting's a bit off. You'd be like that. Think about like how annoyed you'd be. Like,
yeah,
Like bodybuilders, like their peak week, they're like agitated, and you've got a guy who lived off
Yeah,
cigarettes.
yeah.
yeah, 6
And he's gotta go
hours,
do,
and
like,
then have to do like a
Yeah.
like
8-hour
10-hour
stint.
day on set.
Christian Bale. It's just another day, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, tell me what shape I need to be.
Yeah.
I'll do it in 2 months.
Someone's putting your makeup on, you're the makeup artist. Like, oh, so how do you feel?
Yeah, get off me.
That brush is going up your
I
ass in a
wonder, I
minute.
wonder what he did after that film. I bet he went and had a massive feast.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Loads of apples.
Yeah,
He went, give me the old bag.
yeah, and a pack of cigarettes.
Had a big fat cigar.
Yeah, but yeah, I think like learning to master I say the skill of patience is being able to consistently do the same behaviors and habits that is going to get you towards your goal. So being able to master that skill, it doesn't mean you're going to suddenly be okay with slower results. You may still always want results faster. We all want to get stronger faster. We all want to build muscle faster. We want to lose fat faster. But we can still have that want, but have our actions be consistent to what we know is a realistic time length. So it's just trying to delay that gratification and not act out of emotion is one of the most effective ways to get to your goals, especially when it comes to like fitness and fat loss and things, but really with anything. But being able to, I know Alex Hormozi spoke about this with like the 3 traits that he saw in hyper successful people. And because people would look at it as like, oh, they get up at 6 a.m. or like they do these things. And he's like, there were no trends that. But he said the main 3 were superiority complex. So they thought they were better than everyone else, which led them to act like it. But then also super insecure. So they would beat themselves up and think that they were worthless. So low self-worth, but a superiority complex. And
there's a way to feel yourself.
yeah. And the ability to do the same thing for the longest period of time, longer than anyone else.
Yeah.
And so like you combine an incessant need to prove your value to yourself, and you will never stop working because you think you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this is good, by the way. You also think you're better than everyone else, which leads you to, have that confidence and conviction and everything. And then you can do the same thing for a long period of time. Like that is going to make you very, very successful.
Yeah.
Provided you're doing the right thing. Like, and so
if you're doing the wrong thing, you're really
you're digging a hole, but you dig the China. But I think it's being able to do the same thing over and over, even like not even for an outcome, just because, like whether it's like it's just part of what I do. No different than like, granted, yeah, we brush our teeth so we don't get bad teeth and decay or whatever. But like, you don't think about that every day when you brush your teeth. You're like, it's just what I do in the morning.
Don't brush my teeth.
Yeah, you just don't brush them. You just go on a toothbrush. But I think like being able to look at like your training and nutrition is like, this is just what I do.
Yeah.
Then that's when you've won the lottery and it really starts, you can do anything at that point.
Yeah. That's what, if you're looking for long-term success, that's the goal.
Yeah.
If you can just turn it into, this is what I do on a day-to-day basis, because it's just
This is
what
who I
I
am,
am.
this is what I do.
Yeah, you're done.
Like being patient is a desirable trait, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like if you can train that on a daily basis, because there'll be loads of times in your day where you're impatient. If you can like control your actions when you feel that impatience coming on, like you're laughing,
Yeah.
and you can transfer that impatience into other areas too.
Good stuff. Well, awesome, guys. Thank you as always for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. And we'll see you next time.
If you love this show, please like, share, and leave us a 5-star review so that we can help more people. I'm John Madsen, Supra Human CEO, reminding you to always go get what's yours.